on America.
The media said what? Ha 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 ha.
Dig on America.
You are fake news.
Last call. Last call. Last call. Last call.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Last Call. Today, October 23rd, we have a special guest in studio joining Brent and myself. And I'm really excited about. I actually got to hear her. We've actually been on doing a whole bunch of events before, and I got to hear her on the trail yesterday. And she's been so gracious to join us in the studio. Miss Marisa Wood, who is running against Kevin McCarthy in California's 20th congressional district. Marisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
I think I don't want to speak for Brent, but I'm one that is really excited because not only are you running in my hometown, but you're also running against an asshole. So that just
yeah. He's a national villain for sure. Yeah.
2 for 2. I'm wondering if you could kind of talk to us a little bit. Start out by telling us what made you kind of want to hop into this race, knowing who it is that is the incumbent. What made you want to get into this race?
Absolutely. What triggered me, of course, that was a bad choice of wording. What really inspired me to get into this race, and the last straw, was when Kevin turned his back on his oath to protect the Constitution and our democracy. That's not okay. I have never been one who can sit back when I see injustice happen. For the last 23 years, I've been advocating for my students in the Fairfax School District, and it's been an honor and privilege to do that. And I've seen these families, Lourin, struggling, and they're working hard. They're fighting the good fight and still not making it happen. So I thought, your attack on democracy has just gone too far. And I know that I am the one who can beat Kevin, because it's going to take someone whose personality is as strong as his is. I've been teaching, again, junior high English for the last 23 years. I've been standing up in front of 180 13-year-olds every single day. I'm afraid of nothing. So
Nice.
I believe in my integrity and my conviction, and I believe that matters now, Lourin. I believe, Brent,
Definitely.
that integrity and service matter, and they matter to the community, and they're finally seeing that's not what they're getting from Kevin McCarthy.
Definitely.
I'm curious. I'm just going to jump in because I'm from Vancouver, Washington. Lived here for 20 years. So, but always from the Portland metro area, Portland, Oregon. It's where I was born and raised. But how did your district change? I know that, there was other people going to go against Kevin at 2 years ago when I was starting my run up here, and we knew the census data and knew that our district wasn't going to change that much. But I know the 20th changed a bit. How do you feel that helps or hinders you against Kevin down there? How much was the change? Did it give you a better shot?
No, they sacrificed. No, they, as Lourin knows, they sacrificed several of the districts up here in this area, Central Valley and above, in order to make Kevin's more red. But what's happened, Brent? I've lived here for 36 years. It's John and I got married right after we graduated Cal Poly, and we moved here. He's been in ag all 36 years. And it was always, I didn't know anyone was running against Kevin. But Tatiana really started the evolution of people realizing that Kevin McCarthy is in this only for himself. And it does us regular folks who go to work every single day, right, who pay our taxes, who try our very best to provide the best life we can for ourselves and for our families, that he's just not there for us. And so with Tatiana, she pulled within, I believe it was 36 percentage points, because it was always, Kevin McCarthy 90, and gee, I didn't know you were running 10%, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then last year with Kim, that was another reason I was so inspired. She got within 21 percentage points, and because of COVID, she really wasn't even able to come into Bakersfield, which is Kevin's stronghold, right? So I was inspired by that. The evolution is happening where folks are finally seeing Kevin for who he is. And I believe they're seeing their power in their voice. And that's what I'm betting on. They will vote integrity, and they will vote the person and not the party.
Yes, definitely. I think we've all kind of seen throughout the January 6th committee discussions and presentations. We've really seen multiple Kevin McCarthys. One that is the Kevin McCarthy we see in public, and the one that we see in private. And the inconsistency just gives way to the already credible notion that Kevin is out for himself. And I know he's
Yep.
kind of like, he walks around town, being from Bakersfield, from that district, and going back fairly often. He does have these instances where he is, I don't know, the big man on campus kind of feel, where he just, don't you know who I am kind of feel.
Right.
Well, and
Well,
his
again,
two-sided nature came up in my race against Jamie Herrera Butler, because
okay.
she's the one that voted for impeachment and brought the information to light about
Right.
what Kevin was saying to the Republicans
Right.
in the building on the 6th, and that he was calling for Trump to absolutely get a stop to it, to everything else. And then he runs down to Mar-a-Lago to
Right.
say, I'm really sorry that ever came out, but how do I get back in your good graces? It's disgusting.
And it's got to be exhausting keeping track of all those lies. In my preparation, right, for as a teacher, I'm always prepared and researching. So I watched the Kim Mangon debate, and twice he said, I will always support Social Security and Medicare. You lied right there. At least three times he said, I have the courage to do whatever it is. And right there again, he lied. He does not have the courage. He does not have the conviction. And Lourin, you were talking about his attitude of, who do you think I am? That 3 times I have heard, as I've gone into the Apple store, our local Apple store. Again, the first time my daughter went in to purchase her laptop, and a former student's dad was helping her, and he knew I was running, and he told her the story how Kevin waltzed in expecting preferential treatment to be served or helped before the line of people waiting, or the people who had followed the rules and made their appointment. And when they said, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait, he said, do you know who I am? And that story was told to me 3 times by 3 different people. And the question is, and this is the question, I will share that story on Wednesday, my friends. And the question I will then ask of him is, we know who you are. The question is, do you know who we are? We are the people you were elected to serve. You have this all wrong. You serve us. We do not serve your blind ambition to become Speaker of the House. That is not what makes a difference in our family's everyday budget and their ability to provide for their family. It's not okay. Yeah, he waltzes in like that all the time. All the time.
No, you mentioned Wednesday. Tell us a little bit about what's going on this week. I know you are going to be participating in a debate with Kevin. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Again, I've researched I've watched the past debate. I've seen how he answers. As a teacher of debate, I looked over the guidelines, and then I've called to their attention that this is not a true debate. This really is a platform for Kevin to showcase Kevin. And so I have challenged them on that already. And so I'm prepared to make sure that my message gets through and that I hold him accountable for his answers. That's what I do as a teacher every single day. And like I said, I've been queen of my classroom for the last 23 years. I'm not about to let him try and take over this debate without making it equitable and just and fair. So
Yeah.
just been working on doing my research. And like I said, understanding the importance of the message. And I love it, Lauren. When I'm out at happened in the bank or the post office or the grocery store, or I was getting John and I love to get pedicures together. So we were getting a pedicure and I glanced up and I noticed this woman on her cell phone had my picture, and she was saying to the person who was doing her nails, she goes, "I think that's Marisa Wood," and I go, "Yeah, that's me," because it it touches my heart. And so she
Nice.
came up and I told her, again, she said, "Thank you so much for running against Kevin." And then she said what so many of them have said, "Thank you again," and some certain negative comments about his lack of leadership and service to the community. And so I understand for the debate that I am their voice, right? He hasn't held a town hall here since 2015. He'll come back in and do, a dinner at Seven Oaks Country Club at
Oh yeah.
$500,000 a plate, and
7-Up,
probably considers
the
that,
Petroleum Club. Yeah.
yeah, a town hall where he's listening to his folks. But that's not how it is. So I feel that responsibility to make sure that I stand up for all of those voices, and they want me to hold them accountable. And I promise you I will. I will.
Absolutely. That's one of the things, like we were talking last week about covering Raphael Warnock's debate with Herschel Walker.
Hmm.
And, it's already kind of been mentioned in the chat that's going on here as well, is kind of like these moderators are not doing the job of a moderator. They're just letting people, um, run out the clock and not give non-answers and not actually holding them accountable when they are supposed to be answering questions that are supposedly
Yeah.
from constituents. And that was one of the criticisms that we had of Raphael Warnock is, he wasn't, and I like after the fact we talked about it. And I get that, with Herschel Walker being the opponent, it's kind of like almost like beating up a kid. Herschel Walker
Golly.
mentally is a 7-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know one of the things that you said at your event yesterday that really struck me was the giving the statistics about Bakersfield and the murder rate that's
Hmm.
at the heart of his district, and
Hmm.
I wonder if you could kind of give us a preview of a little bit about what your setup is going to be to hold him accountable with things like that, where his lack of leadership has really been detrimental to the people in the district.
And I'm aware that the questions will be formulated for him. I know, just again from watching the previous debates, they are formulated for him, and they are not. You're not given an opportunity to rebut or refute what was said. So he's allowed to just say whatever he wants. So at those times, and he's going to bring up, guys, his commitment to America, and they're going very strongly on security, national security, and crime, and that's the time when I will have the opportunity to bring that up. But just as you were saying that politicians don't answer the questions, I will always answer the question, but I will make sure that that message gets across. Like I said, if I need to do that in a rebuttal or when they are asking me about crime or the rate of crime here, I will make sure, like I said, as a teacher, I understand how to make sure my message is always brought across. And I know that if you say it enough times, they will eventually bring it up. So it will be
Hopefully.
woven in, I promise. I promise to answer the question that's asked of me so that they see my where I'm coming from, because that's really what this debate is about. It's about giving the constituents the opportunity to see Kevin and where he stands, and to see me and where I stand, how we will each approach the issues that matter most to this district. And again, that is what comes up. The fact that for the last 5 years, we've been the murder capital of California. The last 8 years are all four counties that Kevin is responsible for have had the highest level of poverty. When 95% of the families here in this district would have benefited from the child tax credit, 2.9 children were moved out of poverty from that child tax credit. He voted against it because he was playing his partisan political games. That is something that is important, that needs to be answered, and it will be brought up consistently, I promise.
Yes, that's the stuff that I'm talking about. This, like, all the things that, Republicans talk about. I see ad after ad now about inflation and gas prices and all this other stuff. And, when they had an opportunity to legislate solutions for these issues, they were nowhere to be found.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, we've got kids dying in school from gun violence.
Right.
And your solution is like, well, it's mental health. It's mental health. But then you vote against funding for mental health for school children.
Right.
That's got to be brought up. And let me bring in Brent here. See if he's got any questions for you before we continue on.
Well, I want you to know I'm amazed by you for standing up. I mean, going against Kevin McCarthy is, I was proud of myself going against Jamie Herrera Butler, but stepping in against Kevin McCarthy, I absolutely round of applause for you and everything. What do you think is being an educator, a career educator? What's the biggest thing you want to accomplish on education at the federal level?
I think we need to have accountability to make sure that all the money that has been earmarked for mental health, it goes exactly to that. As a teacher, I know my students learn when they feel safe and they feel comfortable in the classroom. And these kiddos are faced with, you guys, I'm pretty sure you're not as old as I am, but bullying has been around for a long time. It always has. But back in my day, I could go home, and unless the bully lived next door to me or literally walked up to my door or dialed, right, the 10 minutes to dial your rotary number and called you on the phone, you could escape it. But these kids now, because of social media and the hate and the bullying that goes on there, there's no escape from it. So they're being pushed and pulled in so many directions. So I believe that number one, we have to start paying attention to our students' mental health and making sure that we are modeling appropriate behaviors, that we have enough counselors to reach out to that. For so long, mental health has been a stigma. So that's number one. I believe we also have to take the lessons learned from the pandemic and incorporate them into education as we move forward, because every student deserves the same quality, accessible education. And so we learned that by transferring everything to the digital platform. That is a way some students learn better. And we need to be able to accommodate that. We need to look at also incorporating charter schools and magnet schools into the program. So specifically, students can see themselves in their educators and in their learning. That's a powerful, and their history and their culture in that learning. I believe we need to take advantage of that. We need to make sure that our teachers are properly trained and that we are using all of the resources. I can tell you, with a room full of 32 students, you've got 32 different learning objectives, and I've got to take all of that into consideration to get my one standard and lesson taught. But I believe at first it starts with making sure we're addressing the mental health. issues because our students have so much going on. It's a miracle sometimes they just can make it to class.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the state of Washington just recently implemented at the state level, and school districts are rolling it out. But my children's school district, they now a mental health day is just acceptable. You can just call it in. You know what? My kid's taking a mental health day today. They're going to be home. It's not, oh, they have a small cold because of, and those things are big steps because kids do.
Absolutely.
They just, sometimes they need to get away from all that stuff and
Yep.
because they are inundated on social media. They are in it. And my kids don't use social media. We don't allow that. We don't.
Good.
But I'm not going to say anything about the other kids that do. That's not my
Yep.
place to say what is or isn't allowed in somebody else's home. But yeah, I'm glad to hear you saying that, that would be a first step. I truly appreciate that.
For sure. And I even had, because I don't actually teach, I don't have classes anymore. I work with the English language learners, and I either pull groups in or I will go into classrooms. I'm also the have a coordinator, but I created out of we used to have the plastic screens that were on rollers for the teachers to stand behind when we came back. So they were all in the hallway. So I got about 3 of them, and then I put shower curtains that are have moons and everything on it, and I've got the little fairy lights hanging around it, and I've got the super comfy chairs from Target, and I call it my chill zone. And sometimes,
Nice.
I have this one student. She's a hot mess. God bless her. She's so emotional, and she'll come into my room. She goes, "Mrs. Wood, I just can't take it." I'm like, "Okay. Go sit down. I'm working with a group right now. Go chill out in the chill zone, and then we'll talk about it." But she does that instead of blowing up at her teacher, right? Or being overwhelmed. Or the kids will come in and say, "Miss Wood, so-and-so's, they've got issues. There could be a fight." And so they just need that space, like you said, to recognize, I have these feelings and they're real and they're valid. And you just need to take a quick minute to work through those. And then you can go back to class and do whatever you need to do. But it's so important.
You know what? And I'm sorry, I'm the one that makes movie references all the time. But it sounds like Julia Roberts in the movie Hook, when she grows full size. She's like, I have these big feelings, but I've never been big enough to have them before. It's,
Right.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
You're humongous.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Tink, you're humongous.
Nice. Well, just hopping back into the conversation here. We are with Marisa Wood, who's running against Kevin McCarthy in California's 20th congressional district, and I'm wondering if you could kind of set up for us some of your like, I know we've talked a little bit about your teaching background. I'm wondering if you could kind of tell us a little bit more just about yourself and kind of what you kind of do on your personal time and how your life has been different this past couple of years as a candidate.
Well, I was raised in a loud Italian family. Family is my happy place. John and I, we've been married for 36 years. And I love to quote movies too, Brent. And I, from Sex and the City, when Charlotte was asked, are you happy in your marriage? And she said, yes, maybe not all day, every day, but every single day, I'm happy in my marriage. And again, I've been blessed to be married to my best friend. And so family for us has always been the center and the core. And so when I told John, what I wanted to do, he didn't skip a beat. He said, "Let's do it. Let's roll, baby." And he's been there beside me. Yeah, it's crazy.
He's a Bakersfield High grad, so
He is. He went to be. He did grow up in Louisiana. He's a Cajun,
I won't hold
so
that
he's
against you.
got a little bit of that crazy. Let's do it. It's all good. Laissez les temps bon rouler. Let the good times roll.
Yeah.
And so he just. I was teaching. I taught all last year, so I would come home every day and make 3 hours of my fundraising outreach calls. And God bless him, he would fix dinner. We would sometimes, we don't. It's just the two of us now, and we wouldn't eat till 7:30 or 8. But family has always been the core and the center. And my children are all adults. And same thing when I told them, they're like, right on, Mom. We're proud of you. And my students, even my former I was still on campus, and they would come up to me and they said, Mrs. Wood, are you running for president? And I said, no, baby, great gravy, no, not doing that. And they said, oh, we're so proud of you. And then I told them, well, you'll have to come visit me in Washington. And they said, wait, you're going to leave us? I said, yeah, I'm sorry, loves, but I can help you better there. And then a former student texted me and he said, Mrs. Wood, I'm so proud of you, because all my students and their parents have my cell phone number. And he said, I'm so proud of you. You were always there for me and for all your students. And he said, but the most exciting thing is that the first vote I ever get to make is going to be for you. So I've already
That's
run.
awesome.
You know what I'm saying? I've done what I asked them to do. I believe in the power of one. I believe one person can truly be the instrument of change. And I tell them to do that every day. I'm like, stand up to that bully. Bullies bully because they can. You be the one to stand up. And so now I'm being called to do that. And I have to be a role model to them. And I am honored to do it. And I will not let them down. They are my life source. So
That's awesome.
just been a crazy, amazing roller coaster.
Just rolling up here. I know yesterday I got to hear you talk about a little bit about your faith, and in the chat we had something come up about Kevin that is going around rounding up churches like Valley Baptist, Canyon Hills, and River Lakes to get evangelicals to run for the school board locally. And we have folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene who are now professing themselves to be Christian nationalists and things like that. And I was wondering if you could kind of tell us, our viewers, a little bit about your faith and how that is, as you said, not. I forgot how you put it yesterday. It's good for me, but I wouldn't have it for other people. You wrap it up.
It's not a choice I can make. Faith is a personal choice. And I was born and raised a Catholic. I've been a Catholic all my life. In fact, I was baptized, received my first communion, first confession, confirmation, and I was married all in the same church. John also is a Catholic. And for me, my faith is a source of strength, a source of guidance, and a source of peace for me. I feel very close to the Blessed Mother. Sometimes when I'm having a pity party, right? Or just I don't feel like my mind is in the right place, then that's when I dig into my faith. And that's when it helps me and it soothes me. But that's me. That's me. And I don't believe that we have the right to tell anyone what they need to believe or who they should be, what they should believe. I mean, if we're going to mandate a faith, then I think it should be Catholic because I'm a Catholic and I think it's the best one, and there's a reason, right, why our extraordinary founding fathers separated church and state. It's just that it's a very personal relationship that you have with God or your God and your faith. And that's not something that you can invoke on others. And it makes me so angry when people like Marjorie Taylor Greene or these Christians, right, these evangelical Christians, start attacking children for their choice, as they're trying to find out exactly who they are, what gender they want to identify with. And they attack them as if they don't already have enough. And they use it for their faith. They're using faith to blanket their hate. And that is not okay, because that sure as hell is not my God. My God isn't that way. So I would hope that the way I come across, the way that I vote, the way that I perform my duties, if I'm so honored to become your next Congresswoman, you will say she's a woman of faith. She has integrity. She is doing what's right. That's how I hope you will know I am a woman of faith, not from me shoving it down your throat.
That's a great segue into my last question, and I'll let Brent have his before we hop into our panel discussion. But it's a great segue, and I'm hoping you could kind of tell us a little bit about what you're finding out in the district when you're talking to folks, because I know we have in California, we have Proposition 1, which is going to protect reproductive health care, the form of abortion, into our state constitution, and running to represent the area. What have kind of your discussions around this been? Have you seen like a situation like in Kansas where even though it's a conservative area, people are kind of moved by this issue?
I do believe so. Our local polling showed that even as conservatives, I can speak conservative as we are, it is still less than 50%. 46% believe abortion should be illegal with exceptions. Only 6%, which was surprising to me for as conservative we are, only 6% believe it should be illegal without any exceptions whatsoever. And of course, my opponent is that extremist view, but as we all know, his views change with the wind and his ties, I believe, every day. So, you know, and that's powerful. I polled also more strongly with women, and which I think is understandable. But a lot of my I've taught First Communion in my church. It's St. Francis for 25 years. John and I taught confirmation for 10. And there are folks within my church community who feel the same way I do about abortion. Abortion is not a choice I would make. Of course, I've never been raped. I can't say what I would do in that situation. But I know as a whole, for me, it is not a choice that I would make. But I will be damn sure to make sure that every single woman, that is her choice for her own reproductive care. No politician, anytime, anywhere, has a place in that decision. It's solely between the woman, her faith, her doctor, and her family and friends. Nobody can put that on her. And I believe a lot of people see it as such.
Nice. Just real quick here in the chat, folks are kind of asking which of the casino props do you support, 26 or 27, if either?
Yeah, I do support 26 and a no on 27.
Nice. Yeah, that's how I fall to myself. Cool. Brent, if you want to give Marisa your last question there.
What has been the most difficult part of running as far as interacting with the public? And I'll give you my most difficult part just to try and make sure that we're on the same page. My most difficult part was talking to a person and them saying, what are you going to do about the pothole on 104th Street? And me saying, I'm running for Congress in DC. I'm not running for the city. Like it was teaching civics all over, and I think that's a major problem in our country is we don't teach civics correctly. We haven't for generations. And that's, but that was my constant thing, was things like that. What are you going to do about the homeless people that are on the off ramp from 205 to Mill Plain? What are you going like? And it's like, I can't, that's not this job. But what are the things, what is the biggest struggle in your messaging that you are constantly having to repeat that you kind of never thought would be the issue when you decided to get in?
I don't think, and I understand that. I also understand the power of just listening to someone, and being sincere, I would tell, and I get that they're frustrated. That's what they see. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why I've been so successful as a teacher in the junior high. I understand that when that young lady comes into me going, I'm gonna blow, to her, or they're devastated because they broke up with a boyfriend, to them at that time, right, Brent? That is the single most important thing for them in that minute and that time. And there's so much power, you guys, there's so much power in just listening. So many times people just want to be heard. And I do listen. And then I would say, I can't promise you that I'm going to be able to do all of this. I can't promise you that, and I won't make a promise that I cannot keep. But I will promise that I will go to work every single day and give you 150% of my dedication and my time to do my best to serve you and to serve your family so you can have a better life. That's what I can do. And I think sometimes they're not necessarily want you to answer them, right, or solve it. They just want to be heard. But really, for me, the most frustrating thing just has been that um, I'm a regular person who wants to do the right thing, who sees that our district is struggling. We have all of these issues facing us. We've got the water issue, and food insecurity coming our way when the Central Valley feeds the world, right? And we still can't get the water. And that means more children are going to go hungry, which I am not okay with. So someone like me who just wants to do the right thing has to be able to compete with a mega fundraising machine like Kevin McCarthy. So we just can't do the right thing, right? As a regular person, I was blessed enough to have gone to high school with Adam Schiff. And so I reached out to him and I said, look, Adam, here's the deal. I know I can do it, but I know I need some big gun help. And so he did put me in touch with the DCCC, and they helped me put together my team, and they gave me the ability to start and launch my campaign. But if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't have known what to do. I wouldn't have had the experienced professionals on my team that I have to get me where I am today. I'm willing to do the work. I got you. I don't mind making those calls. I enjoy it. The hardest part is just sitting, because as a teacher, I never sit, right? But sitting in front of a computer is the worst. But to me, that's been the most frustrating, Brent. Honestly, that's been the most frustrating, that it's not something that someone who just cares and cares so much about doing the right thing can just run for office. You just can't.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice, Marissa. If you want to give us kind of let our viewers and listeners know where they can find more information about you, and I'm sure you're still taking donations, and we're in the get out the vote time of year.
And I want to make sure everyone listening understands that, again, you so have the power. One person can be the instrument of change. And just think how we're going to feel after November 8th when we have this historic victory, and we send the message to all career politicians who are not doing right by the people in their district. Think of the message we're going to send and how powerful it will be to stand and be a part of that victory, because together we can do it. I'm willing to stand up. Like I said, I don't mind being the center of attention. I kind of like it. I think I took a long time in explaining yesterday. So I don't mind. This is my job. That's my job. And your job, which is equally, if not more important than mine, is to vote, and to vote that change. And if if I would be honored with your vote, it will be just momentous. And I promise I will not let you down. So I don't know how to text while I'm talking to you on the phone, but my website.
We got it up on the screen.
You do? Okay, God bless you. MarisaWoodForCongress.com. So that's me.com. So again, just appreciate the support, and would be honored to have your vote, and we're going to be celebrating in November.
I hope so, and I will be down, especially if you have your like celebration party at Luigi's.
We will. I will make sure I get that out to you,
I
Lauren.
will be
would
there.
love for you guys to be there. Right on. Right on.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping you'll stay on with us and kind of give your ideas.
Sure.
We're just going over our panel discussion this week. Is just going over a couple of news stories that happened over the week with the primary news. The one of primary importance to me, because I'm selfish that way, is the Biden administration had their plan to forgive student loans blocked by court, and my take on it is it's just a delay. Eventually it will happen. I think the adjustment that they made in that 11th hour kind of takes away some of the standing. I know their lower courts had thrown out cases because of that that other states brought, but I think it's just a matter of time.
I agree. And I think what people need to understand is, because my very best friend, she is a teacher. She was a teacher. Now she's a principal. But in 2005, she took out she combined her loans. She has 2 masters. She combined her loans, $37,000 in 2005. She has never missed a payment, right? She pays regularly. And she ended up she's paid $80,000, and still, as of 2022, right before the loan forgiveness came in, she had already paid in $80,000, and that's at $350 a month since 2005. Never missed a payment. They're not asking, saying, I don't want to repay my loans. That's not what it is. It's just that they are the percentage rates and the terms of the loan are not fair. They're not reasonable. And we want to have an educated populace. Education brings choices. Choices brings power and pride and dignity, right, to folks. And we shouldn't be saddling people with this enormous debt so they can't even go to work, get the job that they love, and hope to build, live the American dream, buy a home. They can't do it if they're saddled with this heavy loan payment that doesn't go away. That's 17 years she was paying on a $37,000 loan at $350 a month. She still had money owed, and she said, I cried, Marisa, when that letter came in saying my loan was forgiven. She said, I literally cried. And she still, after 17 years, had a balance. I don't remember what it was. I think she said it was $15,000. That's the problem.
Yeah. That's absolutely crazy to me, because it's like, at a certain point, it's like an investment, right? We're saying we're investing in kids because we want to have an educated population. We should be using people's dreams, the American dream, right? That they sold us to make money on the backs of these people. If you took out 20,000, 20,000 is what you owe, period.
I don't know if Lauren and I have thought about this issue. We've thought about enough other things. I'm frustrated by the whole situation. It's turned into a political football. It never should have been a political football. I don't know what the right answer was on the forgiveness part, but right now, both sides are using it and we're not fixing the problem. My biggest thing is we need to get to 0% federal loans to accredited universities, to where while you're in, it accrues no interest. When you come out, what do you know? It still doesn't. You're going to pay. It could be a percentage of your income. It could be whatever it works out to be.
Right.
But we pay Quicken Loans or whoever the heck is holding these things. The federal government holds the debt. You have a loan servicer that's sending out your statement and your statement or whatever each month. is collecting the money and bundling it, remitting it to the federal government, keeping track of who's on time. I'm okay with my tax dollars paying Quicken Loan $20 a month for them sending out that piece of paper, getting the check back, whatever.
Absolutely.
And saying, okay, we're investing in the future. But now we're sitting around messing around with a political dynamite football, not addressing anything. And I'm scared that this is going to be regressive in the end, because people are going to be like, oh, we don't want to talk about student loans because last time we did that, it turned into this big mess. And that frustrates me. But we cannot have a federal government that is getting funding off of people pursuing, further education. That's not acceptable.
Well, and if you look at other countries, my daughter Jamie went to Cal Lutheran, and there is a very large Swedish population of students that come over there because their education is paid for. All they have to do is pay for books because they value education and educating their people. That's what happens. And and it's crazy that is not what's valued here. And you
just
really pointed to the key part.
We value educating you just enough for you to be a worker. That's
Absolutely.
Well, we don't even value that. We don't give trade school. Like we have, construction crises around with lack of houses, and we're not teaching people how to build foundations, how to frame houses, plumb houses, electrify houses, everything else. We're not investing in engineers that are able to make houses more energy efficient, how engineers can find better ways to use less concrete but have it be just as stable. Like we absolutely are not investing in ourselves in any way in the education sector. Yes, you're educated enough to come out of high school and work at a McDonald's or work at whatever. And I don't mean that talking down. I'm saying we are not educating for the future. And I don't have a college degree. I went to LSU. I left. College was not for me. I've been educated in life. I was lucky to have a career that had an advancement path that didn't ever say, oh, you don't have a bachelor's degree, you've hit a wall.
Right.
But many jobs that are starter jobs have that. And so I haven't lived the student loan thing. I just look at it and say, this is an investment in our future. And I want the students that college is right for them to have access to it, to be able to get it and to better our society. And I want them to pay that back as far as, because it's proven they're going to make more money than I probably am because of those things. But we need doctors. Maybe we don't need lawyers. Maybe lawyers can pay 8%.
Just like Back to the Future. Justice system work swiftly now that we've abolished all lawyers.
So maybe we don't need as many lawyers, but we need the doctors. We need this, and that requires people to go out there, and then they come and they help us, and we fix the healthcare system, and they're available, and they're so there's all of these things are intertwined. I just want us to, I'd like to see 2 years of community college and 2 years of trade school, just flat out zero charge, the same as what public education is, K to 12, make it K to 14.
My son, my middle son, same thing. He college really wasn't for him, but I wanted him to get out on his own, and go. So he went to Fresno State for a couple of years, and then he came home, and in the summer he started working for my good friend at the IBEW. He started installing solar panels, and then as again, I believe that was God saying, here's your niche, my friend. And so he is part of the IBEW apprenticeship program. And what they've done, and this is masterful because they're meeting people where they are. correct?
Mhm.
My son was not a 4-year college kiddo. This matches his skill set. He's strong and he can work outside, but it also works his engineering mind, and he tries to explain it to me, and I'm a good mom. I try less. I'm like, just don't quiz me on it, dude, because but what they've done is in order to create an apprentice program that trains electricians to immediately go out and work in the field, they talk to contractors and they say, what do you need? And those are the skill sets that they teach them. And what Casey has to do, it's a 5-year program. And then and it's free, it's paid for. And then once he leaves the program, he has to continue working as a union electrician in any state, because the unions are all over. But he just needs to work for, I think it's 5 years, 3. I don't always listen. I apologize. But, it's a certain amount of time, and that education is free.
Right.
That's what we need to do. That brings the workforce, employers, contractors together with the workforce. And so we're training them for exactly what they need to be successful in that industry. And we do it for free because it's a win-win situation. That's a model we need to follow. And that's part of my education, my platform. I also believe we need to crack down on the schools who charge you in, those kind of, I don't want to say the
Oh my
online
God.
schooling, or what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Because I know Mark has said, he's up with the union, the IBW union, and he said some of his guys come and apply with him, and they say, well, I've got this degree from San Joaquin Valley College, right? And
Yeah.
it says that I'm a certified, right, electrician. And Mark
they
said,
don't
I'm sorry,
know.
man, you don't.
Yeah.
It's not, because they lied. They said, yes, you will be a certified electrician and you can get a job, but you can't.
Certified to
And so
us,
they,
but not.
Yeah.
yes,
That's the
and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
costly.
Yes,
Costs a lot of
definitely.
money. So we need to have some accountability there. But I believe the key is making sure that lots of options. Like I said, choice brings so much power, so much dignity when we are given choice.
Nice.
I would
Before
100%
we wrap
agree.
up here, I mean, there's more news stories, but I just last news story that I wanted to bring up was we have our partners across the pond here in Mario, England. Their
Yep.
prime minister has got the boot, as it were, and Liz Truss is now out as prime minister of the UK. I believe she lasted 44 days in her job, which is surprisingly longer than I
You expected?
thought. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
as soon as the pound crashed, I was like, oh, that's it for her this weekend.
Yeah.
But she lasted 44 days, which I believe is the shortest amount of time for anybody. But she's still going to get a pension of $100 and such $1,000 a year, which is
Wow.
Have you verified that? Have
very
you
good,
verified that fact?
sure.
Because every year somebody rotates the one around that presidents get this much money for life, and Congress people that only serve one term get this much money for life, and it's
No, it's a
absolutely not
percentage.
true. It's
Yeah.
they can pay into the government pension. I mean, I've obviously looked into it somewhat when I was running, like for
She's
how
been
future goes. I
like
don't know that the prime minister there
she's
gets it for life.
been in Parliament for a while, but this was U.S. news, U.S. and world news report. So maybe
Okay.
it's
Very possible. I don't know. She didn't.
Yeah.
The best meme I saw about it was she didn't last as long as Love Island season 2. Love Island season 2 was 56 days long, and
Wow.
she only made
Which
it
was
44.
56 days too long, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think it kind of speaks to what I think is the Republican strategy, the Republican answer to all these crises. First of all, it's kind of just proof inflation is not a result of an American policy because it is worldwide.
Global.
But what we do to mitigate it very much is a domestic policy issue. And we've seen what the UK tried to do was cut taxes on the wealthy and corporations.
Never
And
works.
that did not work. And my feeling, my inclination, listening to like people like Ron Johnson or Kevin McCarthy, is that that's exactly what they're going to try to do.
Yeah.
Should they take over the House and then 2024 take the White House? But
my issue with it
what's your
is,
thought on it?
well, hold on, let me go. My issue with it is, in the parliamentary system, they had a way to apply pressure to make her step out, or else they could forcibly remove her within 44 days. With our system, 44 days from now, if Kevin McCarthy gets reelected, he's there for 2 years. There's no, you screwed up our economy. If we lose the House to the Republicans, there's no stopping the damage until the next election cycle. And that's the part that's scary to me, is that, and I agree with our government system and how we're set up, but that the average person doesn't understand that what they do on their ballot in the coming, what do we have, 15 days or whatever, now 16 days, that holds for the next 2 years at the federal level, and so those are the things that, again, teaching civics and how that, over there, they were able to, push her out of the way and she's going away. Here, we don't have that. They can become the band of whatevers, and they can have an approval rating in the single digits, and they can still do whatever they want to do, because there's no, if they just say, okay, well, we're definitely losing next cycle, but we are going to go crazy this one, they can. So, I mean, that's just, the one thing I think about when I read the story was like, at least the UK had that option to say, you know what, we tried this one on. This did not work. And it may be financially painful, but we're going to try and go forward from it. And here we just don't have that same option. And with everything we're looking at, I think people need to understand that, calm and moderated approaches versus jerking the ship around are what keep it going, forward.
Yeah,
For sure.
Thanks for that, Brent. No, but it is very frustrating. It is very frustrating feature of our republic, is that Democrats govern and we balance the budget. Not only are we taking care of folks and people primarily, and they're the primary focus, the citizens of the United States, but we do it in a balanced budget, and we've already decreased the deficit, which had been ran up to $1 trillion yet again.
Well,
and every time
when
we do
Trump
that,
left office, it was our the national debt was at 27.7. It's now at 31.1. Trump had the third largest increase, right, to the national debt, and that was specific. The only two that were ahead of him were Lincoln and George W. Bush, because they both had wars to pay for in their increase. And it was all because of the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act. That's where it comes from. And Kevin, and I've heard other Republicans as well quote from Summers, who is a economist and a very astute man, saying how he warned the Democrats that this spending is going to increase inflation and increase the deficit. But what they didn't say is that he said, in that, I watched the interview, he says, in looking in balance, he said, and looking at what's at stake, and this was in December of 2021, He said, on balance and looking at what's at stake, he said, I would vote for the Build Back Better bill. That's a hard one to say because it advances, right, the investments that our country so desperately needs. And yes, it will have it will increase the deficit up front, but the paybacks will come later as we make those investments in the American people and in the infrastructure for them to be
People and
successful.
infrastructure.
And he said the way we can make it better is to roll back or to cut back the state and local tax deductions to the wealthy and to the corporations. That will pay for all of the investments we're making. And we all know Kevin McCarthy will never do that. His average donation is $3,000. So he has sold not only his soul, but his vote to the same corporations and to the same wealthy Americans that Mr. Summers was saying we need to tax. And that will pay for those investments that he fully supports. That's what we need to do. And that will never happen. But people need to start seeing, I pay more. And that we're talking just a 15% tax is what corporations were expected to pay in that Build Back Better. I don't know about you guys, but I pay a higher percentage than that, and I pay my taxes, right? So we're not asking them to pay more. We're asking them to pay their share. And his new best friend, Elon Musk, I can tell you, I probably pay more in taxes than that man does. And that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. All day, every day.
100% agree.
Well, I want to thank our guest, Marisa Wood, for coming on the show and telling us a little bit about her campaign and her plans to unseat Kevin McCarthy down in California's 20th Congressional District. If you want more information about Marisa, you can find out information about her at Marisa Wood, WOOD, FOR Congress.com. That's where her information is. And I want to thank you all in the chat for joining us. If you're streaming us live on YouTube or Twitch, we appreciate the follows. And if you like what you heard in today's show, go ahead and click subscribe. It helps us out in the show. And today, I will leave you guys with Lauren's last thoughts on the policy issues we were just discussing, which is taxation. As a progressive, as a Democrat, I believe that fairness, fair share, justice, equal opportunity, and a level playing field is what's called for when we talk about tax policy. On the federal, state, and local levels, our tax policies must be fair to everyone. The fact is, our tax system is thoroughly unfair. It is rigged with loopholes and giveaways that benefit a few, usually the rich, individuals, and big corporations, at the expense of the rest of us. Everyone should pay their fair share, and to accomplish that, we must require disclosure of tax giveaways, eliminate those giveaways that unfairly benefit the rich and powerful, raise taxes on the rich and where otherwise needed, and cut taxes for people who cannot reasonably afford to pay them. By doing this, not only are we going to have a more progressive tax system, we are actually going to be able to invest in the people and infrastructure of this country. So that is the last thoughts for this week. I hope you guys have a great night, and we'll see you again next week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.